So, new setup. Well, not really a new setup, rather. It's just a new location or area in the room that has been moved around so many times to do videos. I actually, you know what's funny? I actually do like this new angle better. Sitting at my desk, microphone in front of me, camera up here, just relaxing a little bit and doing the videos. And I like this, although it's probably not going to last for very long, so enjoy it while it lasts. But that's not the point of this video today. Today's video is actually a requested video by our lovely Swag Bear. Oh, what was the number name? Swag Bear 397. So thank you for the request for this video today. Today we'll be talking about something that is not exactly something I'm the most familiar with. It is something that I know a little bit about, but not the most knowledgeable on it. So I'll be doing this kind of by ear and kind of giving my first thoughts about what I'm going to be talking about today. Today, I'll be talking about Greyscale 3D Gorilla or Greyscale Gorilla 3D Plus. Basically, from what I understand, it is a plugin for several 3D softwares. I don't believe Blender is included in it. We'll take a look at it in a minute. That allows you to do various things that that software may not do natively, or adds functionality to it, or improves functionality to it rather, that it doesn't already have. And from the front page that I'm looking from it, it actually looks pretty good. It's the showcase they got in it is actually is very impressive. Like I know I don't have the hardware required on my system already to deal with this kind of level of 3D art, but what we're looking at today, we'll take a look at some of the showcases they have here and show you what specifically Greyscale Gorilla actually is, because it's actually, from what I understand from it, it's actually pretty cool. So let's get into it. All right, so before we get into the video, I would like to mention that I stream on Twitch every Saturday and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The time has been changing a little bit because I really can't find this optimal spot to be streaming, because I do either late at night or I do it early in the afternoon or kind of mid to late afternoon. So I'm trying to find the time, but for the time being, it's 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you would like to just talk more about what we talk about in this video, and would like to learn more about, you know, what we do also here at the Bergen Empire, which we also have a Discord server for. If you would like to join that, links to everything will be down below. Anyway, so Greyscale Gorilla. Greyscale Gorilla is a plugin for many 3D source programs, none of which it seems like includes Blender, which is a shame because Blender, if you're not familiar with Blender, Blender is an open source option for 3D work in general. It's capable of the entirety of the 3D pipeline, all the way from basic primitives to the final render. But it does support After Effects, Autodesk Maya, Houdini, Maxon, Fusion, Blackmagic Fusion. Like, it supports all of these things, and all of them are powerhouses on their own. Especially Fusion and Houdini. Those are real big powerhouses. So the fact that you can add functionality to it using Greyscale Gorilla is actually something I quite like. However, so it says, like, let's make a reason. Place gives you the need to create beautiful renders at time. Learn how you can get $6,500 material collections, plugin and pro training for only $49. Yeah. So what they're talking about here is that you can get training for like $49 a month, or $400 a year. Frankly, when it comes to that kind of thing, if you're on a time crunch, I would just say go for the learning thing. But if you want to learn it by yourself, it's best you do it by yourself if you have the time, because what I'm trying to say here is that 3D software is a bit of its own beast. If you try to learn it on your own, you may end up having issues eventually, because 2D work is two-dimensional, 3D work is three-dimensional. So naturally, it's a little bit more complicated to learn on how to use the software. Now, a lot of software tries to make this easy for the user. Some do better than others. I think a good example of this would actually be Blender. Blender is actually, it's not the most complicated software out there, but it does do things a little worse than others. But all the same, I think Blender is the easiest to learn how to use because of its, well, large user base and contributing to what goes in and what doesn't, because it's open source. But you're trying to use something like Houdini, which is a much more complicated piece of software. You know, if you want to learn it from a professional who knows what they're talking about, at least hopefully, I would say it would be a good thing to do. But if you know how to use After Effects or Fusion or Maya, I don't really think you would need to learn how to use it from a professional. But it lets you. It says professional plugins add system training to help you work faster in Cinema 4D. Yeah, Cinema 4D is Maxon's offering. If you ever used Cinebench, which is a benchmark for measuring the power of CPUs and GPUs in a relatively cinematic setting, Maxon makes also Cinema 4D, which is the same engine to render that Cinebench does. So Cinema 4D is kind of a big deal because of that, because it's not quite the industry standard, but it's a very widely used piece of software. Something I've noticed that the page that I'm looking at right here does tout a lot is Plus, Greyscale Gorilla Plus. You get a ton of stuff with the Plus package. You get the Plus library for Cinema 4D, Transform plugin for Cinema 4D, R20 and up, Lightkit Pro, Signal plugin, Gorilla Cam, like all these things that really help you work in this type of software. Because Cinema 4D is a funky little software. I've used it briefly in the past. Although it's been a very long time, so I don't know what has changed. But it's a weird little program that doesn't do things particularly easy, but that's not really the point. The software was designed with people in mind that already know how to use 3D software. Unlike something like Blender or Fusion, which is free, where it may have a large number of people using the software that don't really know what they're doing. More or less, it's weird. The 3D system is weird when it comes to that kind of thing, because it's just, oh, here's this group of people that knows how to use the software. Oh, here's this other group of people that doesn't know how to use the software. It's kind of weird like that. So next up on the list, I've actually moved over to the normal page for Greyscale Gorilla, not the Plus version. So there are a number of packs that can be used with Greyscale Gorilla. Plugins, there are plugins. It's mostly a plugin, really, from what I understand. But it's compatible with stuff like Cinema 4D, Autodesk Arnold, which is what I was actually meant to say. It's actually Arnold, not Maya. Octane Render and Redshift by Maxon. Now, like again, I'm not the most knowledgeable person on this. I'm really just going from my first impressions here. But based on what I'm seeing right here, some of the work I've seen some stuff from Star Wars. I've seen some Deadmau5. Some Lightkit plugins, it seems, which is compatible with Cinema 4D. They tend to tout a lot Cinema 4D a lot because it's a very widely used piece of software. It's not I wouldn't call it the industry standard, but it's a heavily widely used piece of software that has a lot of expandability compared to other pieces of software, apart from Blender, because open source. But from what I'm seeing here, it looks incredible the way it looks, because so the plugins that it includes is Lightkit Pro for Cinema 4D, HDRI Link, which means you can basically mess around with ray trace lighting. I think it's ray traced. The image it includes looks like it's ray traced, but is otherwise a plugin that allows you to manipulate lighting in a scene, as well as with Lightkit Pro. Gorilla Cam, which add realistic and natural camera movements to your scenes instantly. It's just a camera plugin. Some camera plugins do things better than others. If you want something that is kind of well known, Mocha is, I forget the company that makes Mocha, but it's a plugin that is I don't know. I think it's Boris 3D Mocha. So I think Boris 3D makes it. Very widely used plugin. I've used it a little bit myself. Very great for tracking, but doesn't really support any camera placement, which is useful because things like software like Fusion and After Effects really makes good use of cameras in many ways, because they both support 3D text and image, or not really text, just 3D images in general. So having this kind of plugin in is good, which I like. And then there's Signal, which is animation with keyframes. I mean, you really, when it comes to that kind of thing, you need that kind of thing, because 3D is really all about that animation. It's really what it's really its greatest strength, is that kind of 3D animation. And in any way that makes it easier is better. As for materials, materials are kind of a big deal in 3D animation and 3D in general, because when you make a primitive, it doesn't normally, when you create a primitive in a piece of software like Blender, Redshift, 4D, any of these kind of things, it normally doesn't have a texture already applied to it. far as I know, at least in Blender. So you need to apply a texture to it. And one of the main ways that people tend to do that is use what are called materials. And materials is exactly as it sounds. It's a material for a 3D object. And it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be materially accurate to the real thing. It just needs to be programmed in a way that allows it to look and maybe feel like the real thing, depending on the use applications. And it includes tech products and materials, surface imperfections, modern surface, everyday materials. So for the surface imperfections, I got this like Mech Warrior. It's really materials are kind of akin to a texture in a video game, if that makes any sense. And the image they have right here, which I hope I'm showing on screen, is very impressive looking. Although it does look a little niche, or not niche, cliche. That's what it looks like to me. It looks a little standard, at least you could say that. As for the everyday materials, what the image they got right there is very impressive. It looks very much like real bronze and oxidation, which is funny because 3D for the longest time hasn't even gotten that point. And of course, they have a money-back guarantee. I mean, when it comes to stuff like this, you're gonna want to have a money-back guarantee because some of the stuff some stuff similar to what Greyscale does can be hit or miss sometimes. It's just like when it comes to 3D software, I mean, the world is your oyster. Frankly, the world can be your biggest oyster when it comes to 3D software. When it comes to 2D software, which is what I'm more familiar with, because I've used Vegas Effects for several months now, and the more I use it, the more I love it. Sorry about that, my camera decided to go out of the live view. But anyway, so I'm a big fan of 2D animations. I like the simplicity and easiness of making them. So really, when it comes to YouTube work, I think, does your brand really need 3D designs? Because really, if you can pull it off, I would think it would look very great. Not to sound like Donald Trump or anything, but I would think that using 3D would look fantastic on certain kinds of channels. Does it look like great on all kinds of channels? I don't think so. If you were to look on cable TV, which I get some, so I work in a sports bar, and I do have the opportunity from time to time to watch a little bit of TV while I'm working. That's the great thing about working in a sports bar, because there's TVs everywhere, and they don't mind. But I get a lot of inspiration from some things that I've been designing lately from watching TV. And I've noticed 3D animations, I've noticed 2D, and they do kind of go hand in hand, in my opinion. And depending on your use case, you could use both. I generally don't. But all in all, if you really want a plugin that has good enough support for most, if not all, of the major players out there, Houdini, Fusion, After Effects, what have you, I think Greyscale Gorilla is a fantastic choice. The previews and showcases that they have available, I think, are really impressive. Like, 3D has come such a long way in recent years that this stuff 20 years ago was not even possible. I mean, look at Toy Story. Toy Story was a groundbreaking movie because it was the first of its kind. It was a true, fully 3D animated movie that really broke ground for what would come for the decades after it. And, you know, it looked impressive back then, but by today's standards, it's not really the greatest looking thing ever. But if you fast forwarding about 20 or so years, today we have stuff that looks frankly realistic. If you have the server farm, if you have the server farm to do it. And for YouTube work, Greyscale Gorilla, it doesn't have a price. Let me see if it has a price. Total price when it's purchased separately is $6,764. That's not cheap, and I'm really talking to the guy who's just starting out, because I don't have a big as influence as everybody else does. Frankly, I probably won't for a very long time. I don't really have, well, that's besides the point. $6,000 is a lot of money for this thing, but is it worth the money? Oh, who can say it? It really depends if your work with YouTube or Twitch or whatever requires this kind of thing. 3D is not easy. I've dabbled with, like, I've had this idea of spinning around in my head. I'm not gonna say what it specifically is, but it's an idea that I had spinning around in my head for a couple of years now. And when I first tried putting it into practice, it was supposed to be 3D animated. It was supposed to be a 3D animated anime show that I was going to present to a cable company at some point. And when I was trying to get the whole idea off the ground, it was done and I really went straight into the 3D stuff. And that was hard. It was hard because I had very little 3D experience up to that point. I didn't know how to rig models. I didn't know how to apply textures to them. I didn't know how to animate them. I had to learn it myself. So if you really want to get into this kind of thing for the whole price, you could learn it yourself. But if you want to try it at the very least, and you have $30 to spend, the Greyscale Gorilla Plus membership, that's really hard to say, is $33.25 a month. A fraction of the price, less than a fraction of the price. So if you want to try it, you could probably buy 1 month and maybe cancel it later if they'll let you. But really, it's in my opinion very much worth the price tag if you want to try it. But if there's any word of warning that I can give to you with this kind of thing is that know what you're getting into. 3D is not easy. 2D is, if you want to get into motion graphics and you want to start dabbling into this kind of whole concept of animating things, grab up yourself a copy of Cavalry and practice with it. Like I've tried a Cavalry on this channel many a times. I've made a couple of videos on it. It's fantastic. And it has, even though it has no support for 3D animation right now, it's fantastic as a 2D motion graphics editor, and it's only on its first version, just out of alpha since July. So that's what I recommend you just try your hand at animating with 2D images first, then you can move on to this stuff if you have the money in your career. But for right now, this is a hefty price and is not specifically targeted towards you or I as a content creator. So be wary of this. I do think it is an impressive set of plugins for a very impressive set of pieces of software. But if you're just trying to start out, be wary. That's all I really can say about it. Well, that was a little bit of a video. I know I keep saying that at the end of every video, but so to clarify, I'm still trying to get used to this whole new kind of camera angle. I thought this kind of camera angle would look pretty cool, with, you know, all things considered. So if I was out of focus, I must apologize. I have autofocus turned off right now, and autofocus more or less is hit or miss on this Nikon camera. It's actually half decent. I'll actually say that much, but that's a topic for another video. So if you like this video, consider giving a like and subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more of it. If you also would like to see more on other platforms, I stream on Twitch every Saturday and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or if you would like to talk to the bigger community at large, we have a Discord server, the Aspergian Empire, which for better or worse is a kind of a chill server. So if you would like to talk to more about anything that you hear today, link will be down below. Hopefully it will be the updated version, because apparently a lot of the links that I've been putting into the videos, as I've learned this morning, are dead. So I need to fix those. But hey, if you would like to join us, hopefully the link will be down below. Anyway, thank you for joining this video, everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next one.